Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Eddie and we film and chat anything mountain biking. Today we're going to talk about 10 essential items I think every mountain biker who is starting out should have in their arsenal. Number 1, Allen keys, your multi-tools, and a Torque 25. Probably the most important item a mountain biker can have are the Allen keys. And now these will be in metric sizes ranging from 2.5 millimeters to as large as 8 millimeters. Now your 2.5 is typically for your oil reservoirs. Your 4 and 5 milliliters are for your brake and shift levers, your caliper post mounts, things like that. 8 millimeters or 6 millimeters are typically for your cranks. Now there will be occasional time where you will need a Torque 25 depending on the model and manufacturer. And you would typically see those on some of your brake post mounts. Now it's always a smart idea to keep a multi-tool on hand when actually on the trail. With all the vibration your bike goes through, you just never know when a bolt does come loose. Number 2 on the list, zip ties. These versatile, little inexpensive tools can come in handy and pull you out of many pinches. From keeping your cables tidy to attaching accessories, measuring your sag, and even tying your shoelaces. Never know when you snap those laces on the trails. Zip ties. Number 3, pumps. It's great to have a floor pump or an air compressor for your home use. Air compressors, especially if you decide you're going to go tubeless. But when you're on the trail, it's also great to have a portable hand pump or a CO2 inflator. However, you have to keep in mind with CO2s, they are a one-time use and are recommended that when you return home safely to release the air out of your tire to get those gases out and repump it with a floor pump or air compressor. It's not intended for a permanent replacement. And if you have an air fork, like most modern bikes have, you're riding full squish, you're definitely going to want to invest in a shock pump. Just don't be that guy that has to constantly ask your buddies every time. You have to make adjustments. Number 4, having a good bike cleaner / wash. It's just good maintenance to keep that bike clean. Give her a wash at least every 2 or 3 rides, and if you're riding in some really wet, dusty, or muddy conditions, you're probably going to want to wash her more than that. Having a good clean bike just prevents dirt from breaking down your drivetrain components and seals. You can use any cleaner that you like, just note to steer clear of any soap that has wax in it. You really don't want that stuff anywhere near your rotors and pads, and you'll end up running into problems contaminating the pads, having those loud squeaky brakes, and worst case scenario, brakes not stopping you at all, especially when you need them. Now I prefer Muck Off. It's a completely bike friendly application. You can use it all over without having to worry about anything being contaminated, and your brakes are going to continue to work. Number 5 on the list, chain cleaning tools and degreasers. Now during your wash, you're going to want to make sure that you are cleaning your chain. What point is having a clean bike without a clean chain? Your chain picks up a lot of dirt, a lot of grease, and a lot of grime throughout the trail, and it stays sticky when you put the chain lubes on. So this is why it's very important that you clean this chain. When you run it through the chain tool, it's best to run it at least 10 times. At least that's my opinion. You run it through that many cycles, it's gonna get through all the chain links, and voila. Now number 6, this brings up the chain lube. After you clean that chain, you're gonna wanna make sure it's nice and dry before you put on any type of chain lube. Now, depending on where you are residing in your area that you ride, you will have the decision to make if you want wet or dry lubes. Of course, without having to get too much into details, wet lubes are going to be for your areas and conditions where you primarily are in damp and wet areas, or you're in constant rain. And so much as the dry lubes are if you're in dry and dusty conditions. Makes sense. But there's plenty of videos out there that can go deeper into the science between wet and dry lubes. What you don't want to do is put on chain lube on a dirty chain. Because if you think about it, all you're going to be doing is tacking on more dirt when you have a dirty chain and you put chain lube on, you're just attracting more dirt, and it's just going to be a bad situation for you in the long run. So clean your chain, lube it up, and you'll be happy. Number 7, grease. There are a lot of parts that are moving, and you're going to want to keep those parts moving freely without seizing up and causing you more problems down the road. Now, there are a ton of options for you depending on how technical you want to get, and that can make your decision on how you choose your grease. Now, I can tell you this tip. For seals, anything suspension related, you're going to want to use a light grease like slick oleum, Shram butter. But anything else, you can pretty much use a grease of your choice. The number one job for grease is to keep water out from the places you don't want it, and which is what prevents things from seizing up. Now, I have a ton of marine grease on hand because I have a boat, and it's just what I use. But this can be your preference on how you feel. There are a ton of videos that research the different uses and how each grease can probably perform better. Number 8, spare tubes. Whether you're riding tubes or you are tubeless, you will encounter a flat. There's no doubt about it. It's always a question when. Now, you don't want to get caught without a spare tube because having to make that walk of shame back to the trailhead sucks. Believe me, I've been there. Either store it in your bag or mount it to your bike frame. There are plenty of options. Now, you may be asking yourself, why would I need a tube if I'm tubeless? Well, while tire sealant is great, it's not perfect. You may have a day where you just beat the hell out of the tires, gash the sidewalls enough to where sealant's not going to do its job. This is when you have that spare tire to save the day. Number 9, tubeless items. Now, this section is really going to pertain to those who are riding tubeless or who are thinking of going tubeless. You're going to need a rim tape or Gorilla Tape. I prefer Gorilla Tape myself. Tubeless stems, extra valve cores, because we've all bent those very fragile Presta valves, and when you're in a rush pumping, you can break them, and next thing you know, you hear all your air just rushing out. Or they can get gunked up with tire sealant, and you'll have to replace them because the seal is not closing and the air is slowly leaking out. Which brings me to lots and lots of tire sealant on your shelf. I say lots because most tires reference about 60 millimeters, and then every 3 months you're going to want to check and add more sealant. And this stuff dries out. It congeals and it becomes like a rubber compound within the tire, and you're going to want to make sure that you stay on top of the sealant, and it's going to be there for you in time of need. All right, number 10, cassette remover and chain whip. Back to my earlier statement where bolts can become loose over time due to vibrations. Well, your cassette is no stranger to these things as well. Sometimes you may hear noises from your drivetrain thinking that it's just some chain noise, maybe even a bottom bracket creaking. But there is a small percentage that is neither, and it's in fact sometimes the cassette has just come loose and needs to be adjusted. All right, guys, my bonus item, chain breaker and the master links. Master links are like the unsung heroes and tend to be forgotten amongst mountain bikers until they're actually needed. This one little piece can actually be stored virtually anywhere on your bike, and it becomes the hero when your chain inevitably breaks. Just use the chain breaker from your multi-tool if it has it, hopefully it does. Remove the busted links, connect the master link, and you can continue your ride without having to do the walk of shame and end your day pissed off. If the chain is in bad enough shape, however, I would recommend replacing the chain when you get a chance. But at least with this unsung hero, you can keep on the trail that much longer. All right, guys. Well, I hope you guys picked up some ideas and tips. This list could continue on, but we do want to get out and ride at some point instead of listening to me all day. And I'm actually about to head out myself. So tell me in the comments, what were your must-have items when you first started out? If you guys found this information useful, go ahead and drop me a like. And if you haven't subscribed, well, I hope you do consider, and I'll see you dirty shredders later.